So the Jamaica Paralympic Association and the University of the West Indies Faculty of Sport, in partnership with the Commonwealth Games Federation, are thrilled to announce the launch of the inaugural GAPS Americas and Caribbean program to be held in Jamaica starting today. Now, here to tell us more is the Regional Development Manager of the Commonwealth Games Federation, Ryan Braithwaite, straight from BIM, and Deputy Dean at the Faculty of Sport, UA Sharmella, Roopchand-Martin. Welcome to Sunrise. How are you?
Welcome. How are you guys doing?
You know, I have to ask you, first things first, Ryan, what's the first thing you ate when you landed?
I had a burger.
That is too funny. Sharmella, we have to work on Ryan's
Jamaican food.
Yeah, we're going to work on it. But what is GAPS?
So GAP stands for Gather, Adjust, Prepare and Sustain. It's the Commonwealth Games Federation flagship para-sport program, which is focused on the development of para-sport across the entire Commonwealth. The program started in 2016 in the Oceania region ahead of the 2018 Commonwealth Games. And now the program is now expanding across the entire Commonwealth so that it gives athletes and coaches a platform where they can develop and expand para-sport across the Commonwealth.
And for the person who may be watching and saying, wait, what is he saying? For those who may not know, what is para-sport?
So para-sport is focused on persons with disabilities.
Yes.
So bringing them into sport to give them the opportunity so they can take part and they can get out their houses and be active and physically active. So that's what para-sport is all about.
We have an Olympics coming up this year. Everybody's excited about the possibilities. Paralympic sport is going to be the topic of conversation in the months to come, particularly immediately after the initial activities in Paris. To what extent are we actively preparing a strong Caribbean delegation for that?
Well, I guess because at the Commonwealth Games Federation focuses more on Commonwealth sport, so the Commonwealth Games outside of the GAPS program then helps provide a platform for those athletes who are interested in taking part in the Paralympic Games to be, I guess, prepared. So we then serve as a catalyst for them to start to train, to be exposed to some level of theoretical knowledge, and then ensure that they then are equipped and ready now to take part in the games when that time comes.
Doc, what are we doing on the ground here in Jamaica?
So we've got a packed schedule for the entire week. We're focusing a lot on injury prevention and then looking at performance enhancement. So we're covering areas in terms of strength and conditioning, prehabilitation, diving into things like imagery, goal setting, and then we're actually doing training at the Mona Bowl, where we're integrating our students and getting some input with regards to biomechanical analysis. So we've actually got a grad student who's integrated into this camp right now. His area he's focusing on is sport biomechanics.
Oh, that's perfect.
So he's going to be put to task right away, help evaluate and give input and feedback, to the coaches with regards to what they're doing. So it's really primarily about performance and injury prevention for this camp. That's a big focus.
I think that's so important, especially for the sustain element of what GAPS means.
Right. Yes. Yeah. It's particularly important. And then oftentimes what you have is people are very focused on outcome. They want those goals, and you're pushing with the training. Sometimes just losing sight of some of the basic things that must be covered. That really, prepares an athlete for lifelong involvement in sport. So a part of GAPS is not just preparing athletes to compete and to be competitive, but looking at long-term athlete development, lifetime involvement in sport, and how do we grow and recruit more persons into, para-sport.
If I might, because I'm then very interested, because one of the things that makes us great in terms of our athletic prowess in the region is the quality of our coaching. We have some very well-known coaches throughout history, but do we have that strong culture of coaching, whether it's through your faculty or other GC Foster College, those kinds of things, that are focusing on training and developing Paralympians? Or para sports, sorry.
Yeah. So not to the extent as everybody, definitely not.
Definitely not,
And I
but-
mean, you can see that
Yes.
reflected, like even when we put out the call
Yes.
for, you know, getting people into these camps,
Yeah.
we're recruiting coaches and athletes. And, you know, if you look at the numbers, I'm sure if we said we were running a camp for able-bodied athletes, we'd have a long list and trying to
That's
narrow
right.
down.
Yeah.
The numbers are, I mean, we've got a total of 22 persons involved for this camp, mixture of coaches and athletes. I mean, if this was an able-bodied camp, you'd see a long list.
Yeah.
That's right.
So we've got quite a bit of work to do in the region with regards to even sensitizing coaches to the fact that, you know, hey, you've got a good sound coaching background. Coaching a para-athlete is not dramatically different from an able-bodied person. It's the same concept, it's the same principles. The same way you have to understand what are the strengths and the weaknesses in an able-bodied person. It's the same thing for the para-athletes. They bring different strengths.
And you know what's amazing is although we don't have a delegation that is the size of the able-bodied delegation, our delegation does so well. We bring home medals
Yes,
to
yes,
boot.
yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we,
And properly understanding, for instance, in whether it's a Commonwealth or any other para sport, but the various gradations
Yes.
of different ability.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, you know, you're coaching an athlete for this specific category, because it's not just, you know, the throws, but there are different, because there are people who
That's
have
right.
different degrees. And I find that fascinating. And I think
Yeah.
maybe more coaches could see a career in that direction
That's
if we do what you're doing and directing them towards it. So I'm really hoping that
Yeah.
you get great support.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm glad you brought up the coaches, but it's not just the coaches, it's getting our entire population to recognize that these are not persons with disabilities in front of you. These are persons that have different abilities.
Yes.
Encourage them, get them out there, get them into sport participation. Not everybody will want to become, you know, an athlete at a competitive level.
That's right.
Yes.
But it's absolutely essential that they get out there, they're included, and you don't have to plan sport differently for them. Just include them. Our local sporting organizations really all need to look more strategically as well as to how do we integrate what we're, you know, doing in terms of training. I'd like to give people the example of fencing.
Yes.
You guys had fencing. You did try it. I remember it last week.
Yeah.
Right. So my family does fencing, and we've got one para fencer that will come to training with us. And I keep saying to people, every time he comes to training, every one of us want to fence with him. We get in that chair, we sit down, we fence with him, because guess what? He's a bigger challenge to us, building our arm strength, our speed, our movement, than just constantly working with ourselves. So, you know, the more you integrate persons into the training programs, it really is just better for just building unity amongst our communities
And
and
to add
that
to that as
inclusiveness.
well, the Commonwealth Games is actually the only multi-sport event in the world that has the full integration of para sport into the mainstream program.
brilliant.
So
It's not
provides
a
a
separate, it's
really
not adjacent.
no, it's not.
Separated.
So all is one. So then
Yeah.
when persons come to the, you know, even at the opening ceremonies and stuff like that, you have a person with disabilities parading and coming in with the able-bodied athletes. So it provides a really inclusive space for everybody to feel included and part of the movement.
Awesome.
Nice.
Thank you very much for your work. Continue, and I hope you get great support at this
Thank you very
upcoming
much.
initiative.
And I hope you eat really good ackee while you're
Yes, I'm looking for that as well.
He's on the list.
Definitely. That's all the time we have. Thank you very much to Ryan Braithwaite, Regional Development Manager of the Commonwealth Games Federation, and Sharmella Roopchand-Martin, the Deputy Dean of the Faculty of Sport at the UWI. Coming up after the break, springtime means allergy time, and allergy time means DPH time. Don't I know? These glasses on my face are a testament to that. More after the break. We'll be right back.
Oh, and you need pan chicken.
Sometimes I'm lost and far from home.